Hi, community partners. In our way of teaching, one of the things that we sometimes talk about is flipping the classroom. And this notion of flipping the classroom is that, many of the things that you might traditionally do in the classroom, you do through videotape or other means outside of the classroom, so that then during the class you can really interact. So it's a kind of facilitation of learning in a different way, and we thought we'd try that with you for our meeting. So the purpose of this video is to give you a brief idea about the agenda, so that you can do whatever preparation you feel like might be appropriate, or feels like enough. You may not need to do anything at all. And in our meeting coming up this Wednesday, we were imagining that we might do a few things, maybe three primary things. And one of those is to talk about why it is that you've chosen to participate, why it is we've chosen to participate, why it is we're doing this. And we have some assumptions about that. So we have some, and they're related to our learning model, which we'll talk about later. So let me back up just a second, my apologies. So we want to talk about that. What's the basis for participating? Like, why would you do it? What do you care about? We want to talk a little bit about the learning model that the students and that we, and that we're inviting you to participate in. What is that? What is that like? And then the final thing is we're thinking we want to have some shared understanding of what that participation might look like in terms of structure. So I'm just going to go through all three of those really at a very high level. I think we might send some more information about the learning model so that you can dig into that if that's something that you'd like to understand better. So the first thing is we have some assumptions about what we're doing. And one of the assumptions is that we're essentially building social fabric. We're attempting to build community as the context for learning, as the context for participation, as the context for service. And a way that we talk about that is that relationship is the medium for accomplishment. So, and when we say relationship, we don't really mean socializing, though socializing might be involved, and hopefully it's fun and people are enriched by it. What we're talking about is a condition of shared commitment, of some shared aspiration. Doesn't mean it's uniform, but it means it's cooperative, that it's transparent, that we understand that. And in order to work with that, what is wanted is to come to understand each other's commitments. What's the nature of the commitment that has you choose to be here? And that's a little bit different than the experienced need or problem. It's an aspiration. So what aspiration do you hold? What commitment do you hold in your heart? What commitment are you living in your life such that you would choose to be in this room today with this particular community of people? Thinking about participating and being co-learner with the sustained students over the next 6 or 8 months. And we didn't want to sort of just, shock you with that, so we wanted to give you some time to be able to think about it beforehand. And we'll create a collective picture of that on the day in the room. And so, think about a way to express it that is pretty concise. And then we'll look and see what the whole field of it is so that we understand what that field of commitment is, which is a kind of basis for a certain kind of social fabric. So that's one thing. So we'll probably spend, a few minutes on that, creating that wall, looking at it, talking about it, enriching it. And then the second thing is the learning model. And my partners, the faculty, the people we happen to call faculty, there are these people we happen to call students as well. They've done an immense amount of research on learning models, pedagogy, ways of learning, ways of teaching, and they're also quite dedicated learners themselves, and we'll probably send a little more information about that. I just wanted to suggest something from a slightly different context, which is the work of George Lakoff. He's a neuroscientist and a linguist from MIT. I think he's at Berkeley now. He has distinguished between, he uses this in politics actually, to understand politics, but it applies in many places, including learning. He's distinguished between two basic models. It's not true, they're just models and only as useful as they are. One of them is the strong father model. In the strong father model, the belief is, in order to learn, we essentially, the strong father figure in the system, whoever that is, and it could really be anybody, essentially punishes and rewards the learner or the student or the child in order to teach them the difference between moral right and wrong, with the assumption that once they demonstrate that they've learned that then the reward and punishment system ceases or they themselves own it. So that's one model, and that's pretty consistent with the traditional educational model that we have in Western culture for a couple hundred years. It's pretty male. It's a very kind of male thing to speak loosely. And then the other model is a nurturing model in which you believe that learning happens cooperatively. It happens in environments in which people can relax, where there's a kind of openness and ability to make mistakes without real fear of consequences in the learning environment. There's more to say about all that, neurology, how the language works, all sorts of stuff. Just, for the sake of kind of a high-level conversation, we are sort of more like the nurturing model. And we're inside of a system that is a little bit more like the strong father model. And so this has a lot of implication on design. It has implication on how we cooperate together. It has a lot of implications. And so to begin to explore and understand that, what does that mean? And then the last thing is just shared understanding of the structure to enable us to learn together. And the real question about that is, how much structure is enough? How much is too little? How much is too much? And there's not some hard metric about that someplace to refer to. The determination of that is cooperation. So you want enough structure to enable learning without triggering anxiety about too little structure, I don't know what to do, and I don't even know how to figure out what to do, or too much structure in the sense of I feel constricted, something feels constrained about it all, or I'm afraid, I might get it wrong. So hitting that sweet spot on the amount of structure that we share, that we've agreed to, that we're enacting together, that is collaboration, and it takes time, and it's iterative. We might, have one picture, which we'll talk about on Wednesday, and that might move not according to what some person thinks in isolation, but how we talk together, how we work together, what we're learning. It could be that the structure that we're proposing doesn't work in some way, and we might need to alter it. And it's necessary to have a structure that you agree on to even notice whether that's happening or not. So one of the things that we'd ask in that is if it feels like too little or too much in certain areas, that we'll talk about that together this Wednesday and on an ongoing basis. So those three things. What commitment or aspiration brings you to participate in this learning community together? And have you here today, sitting, or on Wednesday, sitting in the room? What's the nature of the learning model, at least, that we're suggesting? It's not true. It's not even, superior in some way. It has different consequences, a different profile to it. And the final thing is, what's our level of shared understanding about the mutual cooperative structures in which we'll be participating over the next 6 or 8 months? I can't really speak for all my partners, but I will, just to say how grateful we are for your participation, for your willingness, for your own learning. It's very exciting and satisfying to us. So thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.